It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
All right, gang, welcome into episode 108 of the Border War. I'm the TanMan. We are joined in studio by BG. I would call him my right-hand man, but he's sitting on the left today. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter at the Border War. He is at BG_Border War, and I am at TanMan3264. Maybe I'll just add some more numbers. I
think you should. Why not?
Be like TanMan326475944412.
Yeah, I mean because you would have about as much success with that. So I mean, why not? Why not?
All right, guys. I guess we might as well get it out in the open. The Tar Heel season has come to an end.
I don't think that's breaking news.
No,
I don't think people know that.
No, the Tar Heel season has come to an end. But before we talk about the Heels, before we talk about what can only be described as a giant failure in Durham, let's go around the rest of the tournament, BG. What did you think about the weekend?
Some really good games. I mean, I thought the Virginia game in particular was just insanely entertaining.
I thought there was no way. No, when he missed the free throw and the ball went in the backcourt, that's it. It's over.
That play
was unbelievable.
That play, one of the best passes I've ever seen. But maybe, and I actually was watching it at a friend's house, and that's about the most shocked I've seen a room of people be in the last 8-10 years of watching live sports. Like it got dead silent.
Yeah.
Like people couldn't even what. Like I had to see it again. I didn't really understand what had happened because I guess I kind of caught it out of the corner of my eye. I was the only person in the room who had Virginia on their bracket at that point, so I was catching a lot of ribbing. Let me say the ribbing went away quickly.
Let's go back to something you said a minute ago. You were at a friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
I was here, man.
Well, I mean,
my phone didn't ring. I was here. I was available.
You wanted to come over to the friend's house?
Well, I mean,
like
I said, I was here.
It's my buddy Matt that listens to the show, and you've had some things to say about him on the air. I don't know that you would be welcome over
so I'm
there.
not welcome at Matt's house.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't asked him.
Well,
maybe we should get you two together and just see what happens.
No, it's too late now. No.
I thought you were off limits during tournament anyway. I felt bad about like texting or calling you if a game's on. I just figured you'd be like, no, I'm locked down.
I'm not that weird of a.
You're kind of that weird when it comes to basketball, man.
No, man. Virginia, how they pulled that one off, the show that Carson Edwards put on, really the whole weekend was amazing. But how Virginia,
that game though,
how they pulled that off,
what he ended up with 42, 43,
something like that, and he had like another 40 when they played Tennessee.
And I tweeted this that night though, but how does he not have? I mean, he does have the ball, but was that the play? I think he made a decision to get rid of that ball and try to pass it down the side. But even if the kid catches that pass, he's in no position to shoot. Time's running out. He's crushed up against the sideline. I would have been really, really specific with him if I had been the coach and been like, "You need to take this shot."
Yeah,
I
don't know if it was
somebody else taking that shot.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a.
And they weren't pressing. They didn't have the two guys on him. I mean, he was just coming down the court.
I don't know if it was like trying to run him as a decoy kind of deal.
I could see
everybody in the building knows you're going to shoot it, so we're going to let.
But again, everybody had known he was going to shoot it since the middle of the first period, and no one was stopping him.
I know, and Virginia is one of probably the three best defensive teams in the country, and they could do nothing with him. I've never seen anybody do that to Virginia's defense.
They didn't make, in my sort of casual college basketball fan view, they didn't make a lot of adjustments to him, though. The few times I did see him get double-teamed, they shut him down. And yes, it often led to other points. But, man, I just don't think you can let a guy do, because they're very lucky to have won that game. If he had come down just shy of the 3-point line and put one up, man, I would have given him about 70% chance of it going in.
Well, look, in the dance, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Another reason that you nailed, when we filled the brackets out, I told you the other day, I said, man, I love this pick. Texas Tech over Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. I was really hoping Mark Few and Gonzaga would get there because at the time they played Saturday. So at the time I'm trying to look ahead at a potential Final Four matchup. Who can defeat Duke? And I was pulling for Gonzaga, but Texas Tech. We talked about Virginia being one of the best defensive teams in the country. The best defensive team in the country might be down in Lubbock. And you nailed it, man, right from the get-go.
Yeah,
good call.
Well, I did have them beating Duke, which obviously that game's not going to happen now. But I did think they would beat Gonzaga. What I didn't really think though was I thought Gonzaga would be the only one seed to not make it into the Final Four. Obviously, that was not the case. But you probably know that though.
Yeah, I'm aware. The first one seed in the tournament, we asked last week who would be the first one to go down. I said I didn't really think I had all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four. I think you might have said Gonzaga.
I had Gonzaga being first, yeah.
But the first one to go down is the North Carolina Tar Heels. Hey, look, man. I said before the game, I'm watching the pregame stuff, and they're talking about all these things that Auburn would have to do to win, and so much of it was get in the backboards and control this and control that, and like every stat that they put on the TV, Auburn was terrible at.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, you know what, man? And I caught some flack from some Tar Heel fans on social media for this, but I said then, look, I'm sitting here. I didn't think it would really be that close. I said, short of them making 15 threes, I was like, I don't know what they're going to do. And
so it turns out they made 17.
I mean, just a rough way to end it, man.
Yeah, and I think going into the tournament, I talked about how I had this feeling about this Auburn team, that they were going to be a really, really tough out. And I did think they would make it that far. The only difference is I thought you guys would beat them.
Yeah.
When you look at, and you brought this up, and you had a very good point. I mean, can you imagine how exhausted that Auburn team has to be right now? I mean, because they played from only a single bye in the SEC tournament. Mm-hmm. They had to play the day before they beat South Carolina. Both of those games fairly close. They end up winning the SEC tournament to get that 5 seed. And even as an SEC tournament champion, to only get the 5 seed, to go right into this and just look at who they beat, man.
I think
Kansas, Kentucky, and North Carolina.
I think they said the last time that someone had beaten those 3 teams in the tournament, you've got to go back over 20 years when Arizona won it in '97. I think they beat Kansas in the Sweet 16, Carolina in the Final Four, and Kentucky in the championship game. Look, a lot of people would look at this Auburn team and see the name Auburn and be shocked that they're in the Final Four. Not me, man. I kind of thought, look, maybe they run out of gas. They, by all rights, they should have been bounced in the first round against New Mexico State. But this team's a real deal, man. They started off number 6, 7 in the country. Went through a little stretch early where they dealt with some injuries. Obviously, they lost Okeke to the torn ACL against Carolina. But you look up and down, man. Harper, Brown, these guys are the real deal, man. And you don't go out and shoot the ball like they did against Kansas and then come back a week later and shoot the ball like they did against North Carolina and then turn around 2 days later and beat Kentucky, who all of a sudden became a real hot favorite to win a national championship.
Right. Right when you guys went down, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
on the Carolina side, you kind of put a bow on the season. They had a great weekend last weekend. Coming into this game, a couple days before the game, Nasir Little comes down with the flu. That's widely reported. Cam Johnson had a fever of over 100 the day before the game that didn't kind of make the news that Nasir Little did. Kenny Williams pulled up lame late in the second round game against Washington with a hamstring. You kind of wonder how much he was affected there. Things just kind of started stacking against Carolina early, I think, and they were never able to get out from underneath it. And once it kind of started snowballing, especially coming out in the second half, thought, okay, they're going to go in, they're going to kind of get kicked in the butt a little bit, they're going to come out and make a little run, and it goes Auburn 3, Auburn 3,
yep.
Auburn 3, right out of the gate in the second half, and then you knew, okay, man, this is going to be a tall, tall mountain to climb.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like your offense was really capable of keeping up. I didn't think Kobe was quite as sharp. And I think because this is where the freshman thing comes in. And, I mean, you can make the argument at this point in the season he's not a freshman. But when you start feeling that pressure, right, to not pressure from the crowd, but pressure, okay, these guys are going to score 100 points. We need to score. I thought there was some bad decision-making on his part and some sloppy ball play. But again, like you said, I mean, well, let's take those away and give you guys, 10 more points. It doesn't matter. You just weren't going to score 97
well,
points.
Well, look, number one, I saw a lot of people, every time North Carolina loses a game, you get the Roy Williams doesn't know what he's doing crowd. For everybody,
it always is the Roy Williams can't recruit crowd is what I see.
For if you're sitting out there and you're listening to this and you've got a path to victory against a team that hits 17 3-pointers, then please, by all means, send that in, because I've never seen one. If a team's going to make that many threes, sometimes, look, you scored 80 points. You scored 80 points.
Right.
I mean, it's not like you didn't score.
What was your average? 84, 87, something like that? Yeah.
So, I mean, you scored 80 with everything that Carolina had against them. They still put up 80.
I think people, and don't get me on my weird basketball scoring rant here, but people do forget, it seems to me, that in any basketball score, that unlike football, I mean, in football, a 10-point loss can actually be a pretty one-sided football game, right? In basketball, I mean, every failed basket, I mean, 65% of those turn into points for the other team. So in a way, you can take any sort of basketball score and actually look at the number of possessions by cutting that score in half. So this was probably a six possession game. 6 possessions that if they'd gone now, is that super close? No. But it's one of those things where it just felt like being behind as long as you were actually started making your offense worse. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, well, and you talked about Kobe White. He's 0 for 7 from 3,
and I felt like he was just forcing the ball up a lot of times because he was feeling them make these threes, and again, he hasn't come back in the tournament against a team like that. It's hard to keep trying to go for 2 points and take the easy 2 points when they are hitting threes like they were.
Yeah, I think that he could feel like, okay, we're not gonna get anything off the. We're not gonna get that lift off the bench from Nasir Little. Cam Johnson, he was okay, but he wasn't great. I think he kind of was pressing a little bit. I thought the referees. I don't want to jump on referees, but I thought the referees let Auburn kind of get real handsy with him.
Well, I told you, man, the SEC plays football no matter what shape the ball is.
I thought the refs let Harper get real handsy with Kobe White really all night long, several times, all the way up the floor. He couldn't even get away to get the ball. And, but I mean, they were consistent. They were consistent. They kind of let it go on both ends. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, you make 17 threes. You sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the other guys that make some shots too. The flip side of that, a disappointing end for Carolina. But my weekend got a lot better because not only did Auburn beat Kentucky, because I'm walking around Saturday going to shoot some hoops. I'm going, man, I'm staring right down the barrel of Duke and Kentucky for a national championship. I mean, what am I going to do? And then on Sunday afternoon, all of that changed. The clouds opened up. the heavens shone down on the house of TanMan, and not only did Kentucky get sent to the house, but the mighty Duke Blue Devils, the greatest team that college basketball has ever seen, they might not lose a game. They are to the house, baby. To the house.
When do they play again?
November.
Oh, okay. Well,
November.
Here's the thing. I'm not, I don't hate Duke to the level you do. I find their fan base annoying. And I do find ESPN's obsession with them, much like I find ESPN's obsession with Alabama football, to be annoying. I don't like hearing about one team over and over.
They got their own show. They got their own show before the season. ESPN gave them their own show,
but
man.
Again, and I've said this, and I sound like a broken record. 2 points I want to make. One, the general point is, once again, when everyone in the sports world, or everyone in any kind of world, is everybody's on one side and everybody's convinced that something's going to happen, you can put money on it. It will not happen. We saw this 3 years ago with Kentucky, with a Kentucky team that was, I think, a fundamentally better basketball team than this Duke team was.
Talking about the one that went undefeated?
Yes.
I think so, too. I think that team was better than this team.
I don't think, if you want to make the argument that Zion is better than anybody that Kentucky team had, fine. But the rest of that Duke team did not measure up to expectations, period. And the second point I would make is, go find me, since this one-and-done crap started, a team with those guys who has won a national title. You won't find one. There aren't any.
I said there's been two.
And we continue to see the fact that, well, even those two teams, though, the Kentucky team in particular, had upperclassmen on the team that were major contributors. This Duke team did not. No. I mean, these kids were the focus, and I think it was obvious that they slipped in a couple of wins that they easily could have lost. I think it's poetic justice they lost by 1 point, and I love, after all I'm just going to mince no words here, the ridiculous criticism that Tom Izzo received for putting his hand on a player's wrist. I guess that's the only thing I can find
nonsense
in this ridiculous, soft word for a cat society that we live in. I love that Izzo's the one that took him down.
I'll start off by saying,
I have to breathe now.
One, I'm not a Michigan State fan. I'm not a Big Ten fan by any stretch of the imagination. You know Tom Izzo's record against Mike Krzyzewski? It's like 1-11.
Yeah.
So one, I'm happy that Tom Izzo kind of got that monkey off his back. Two, when we zoom in on this Duke team, I'm going to take hand pat back right now. From the very beginning, I told you, when the whole world is telling you Duke is going to go undefeated, they're not going to win a game, I said they're not going to win it. I don't think they're going to win it. I thought from the very beginning, like you just said, they were a flawed basketball team.
We talked about it when they signed this class last year, well before the season started, that they essentially had 3, maybe 4 small forwards on this team, that they would have absolutely no outside shot at all. But really, to me, what sealed it was just their performance at the line. And they continued to win games and win games and win games, really almost 100% because of Zion Williamson.
They since Zion came back, I think they were shooting something like 55% from the free throw line. The struggles from downtown were well documented, and if you go back and listen to our preview episode we did the day before the season started, that was the big thing that I said, who on this team is going to make shots?
Right.
Turns out, here we are at the end, and it turned out the answer was nobody.
Right.
And so Cam Reddish was supposed to be that guy. Now, I've got a theory on this one, okay? Cam Reddish goes up to Mike Krzyzewski like minutes before the Virginia Tech game in the Sweet 16. He says, I can't go. I've tweaked my knee. And Krzyzewski, Coach K was shocked. I've never seen him really act like that, but he seemed genuinely surprised that all of a sudden, here we are, we're one and done. Like, if we lose, we're out, and all of a sudden you tell me you can't go. He comes out. He doesn't start the Michigan State game. Comes in almost immediately. Plays basically every minute after that. Total non-factor. 8 points. 2 for 6 from the field. He played 37 minutes. He took 8 shots. This was supposed to be the guy. This was your shooter. All right? Here's my theory. I think about halfway through the year, I think Cam Reddish realized, man, I've made a terrible mistake. I think halfway through the year, they can say what they want, the brotherhood, family, yada, yada. I think Cam Reddish looked around the room, and Zion, R.J. Barrett was the number one recruit coming in.
Right.
Then Zion's stock soars.
Mm-hmm.
R.J. Barrett's getting his. These two guys are getting
and Reddish
20
isn't
a
even
game.
getting talked about.
And Reddish all of a sudden becomes the third wheel.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, we set up in Charlotte, and I thought
If he was a wheel at all.
right, we're sitting up in Charlotte. I'm going, we're driving home, and I'm going, I don't remember the kid even play. Like, I know he did,
Right.
but I don't remember anything he did.
Right.
The whole tournament we were up there. I think Cam Reddish realized that he made a mistake, and all of these Duke fans that say, "Oh, he needs to come back to school, he needs to do this and do that and work on this." Man, that guy is getting out of there as quick as he can. I mean, I don't think Reddish wanted to be there anymore. And a performance like this, this was supposed to be the big three, maybe the big 3.5 with Trey Jones. It turned into the dynamic duo.
The big
because
1
Cam
point.
Reddish
I would say the big
nowhere to be found.
1.5. JJ, he didn't feel to me. Zion was that was the whole thing. That the amount of the publicity that kid got, I don't see anybody else on that team who even was in the neighborhood with the amount of press he got. And clearly, we saw from a basketball standpoint what happened when he wasn't on the court.
No, when he wasn't on, I mean, RJ Barrett's
RJ
the real.
RJ, sorry.
Yeah, RJ's the real deal, man. And
I said I think he will have a better NBA career than Zion will. I really do.
A lot of Duke fans have jumped in his social media and his Instagram. I saw a screenshot from his Instagram account somebody had posted where Duke fans were just basically merciless with this kid. I just, when you look back at the way the season started, and like I said, ESPN gave them their own show. Mike Krzyzewski can get up on the podium at the end and pull the John Calipari quote all he wants to. Calipari was always famous for going, "Look, guys, we're really young." Coach K pulled that on the podium the other night. Look, man, this is what you've done. This is the way you wanted to.
Well, it was like our buddy on Twitter, Drew, that follows us. That's a big Clemson fan and a big Purdue fan. I can't quite figure out what the mix there is. Big Clemson football fan, big Purdue basketball fan. But he responded to guys all weekend saying, "Wait a minute, didn't your coach choose to be this young? This is what you wanted, right?" And he's right. I mean, you signed these guys, and why are they young? Well, yeah, you have to sign freshmen, but you last year's team all left. That's why you're still young, right? Yeah. Frank is young because our players get kicked off the team, and they leave. We're not trying to be young.
They get arrested.
Yes, we shoot people with BBs.
No,
You wanted this.
I told my Duke buddy who refused to come on the air and face the music with us today. I told him coming back from one of the nights in Charlotte, talking about Cam Reddish again. I said, you guys signed 1, 2, and 3. I said, maybe sign 1, 3, and 14. To me, there were just too many chefs in the kitchen on this deal. And you're already seeing this. Jeff Goodman reporting now that he thinks that Mike Krzyzewski is kind of gonna not get it because look, if Zion Williamson calls you and says, I want to come to your school and play for you, you're not going to tell him no.
No, yeah.
So, but I think, as Jeff Goodman was saying now, I think Coach K is, might kind of not take one and done kids, but try to diversify his roster a little bit.
Well, I mean, we talked about this. Like, it wasn't just, people see 1, 2, and 3, and they think, okay, this is a done deal. They're going to win it all. And on this show, you and I both talked about, from a basketball standpoint, all of these guys were similar players in a lot of ways. The basketball, is already a tiny court for massive dudes, and we've talked about this in the NBA. Sometimes It's comical, right? You've got these massive guys. Everybody can't be in the paint. You have to have screens. You have to have an outside presence, or you can't run your offense. And we saw it with them all year. Now, their offensive rebounding ability, I think, saved their butts all year long. But as soon as that didn't work, and it's just, again, it's just so fitting that they lost by 1 point, because how many tournament games did they win by 1 point? Just barely getting it done.
Yeah, if you go back to the ACC tournament, you had Carolina that they won by a point. So basically, 4 of the last 5 ball games, 6 ball games they've played have literally come down to the last ball on the rim. All of these are with Zion, so you can't use the excuse, well, we didn't have Zion for this, or we didn't have Zion for this. All of these games are with Zion. Like I said, I think this is a flawed team. I also have said before, I think that this is probably Mike Krzyzewski's worst coaching job that I can remember, because I had this discussion yesterday.
Saw it the night he blew his ankle out, right? And they seemed completely lost, as if everything they had done all year was 100% reliant on Zion Williamson. And you've got 6 other McDonald's All-Americans on your roster, and you can't figure out what to do with any of them.
Look, I made the point yesterday with talking to a friend of mine. He took Kyle Singler, 2 Plumlee brothers, John Shire, and Brian Zubek, and won a national championship. And they run it really wasn't close. And now you've got Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish, the first 2 that I'm fairly certain are going to be 15-year NBA pros and make a couple All-Star games before it's over with. Cam Reddish, to me, the jury's out on what he winds up actually being. I think he'll wind up being a pretty good pro. But they wind up getting bounced before even making the Final Four. So I'm going to ask you, because I saw a lot of this on Twitter, a lot of this discussion on Twitter and Facebook about the season in general. My opinion is you can't come into the year with that kind of hype, and I get it's a one-and-done tournament, and anything can happen, and so very often the best team in the country does not win this thing. I completely get it. But is this season a failure?
Yes.
In your eye?
Yes.
I completely agree.
You have to make a Final Four.
It can't not be.
They have to. If they had made a Final Four and lost a really competitive game to North Carolina or whoever in a national title game, I'm acting like them winning would have made you guys win. Although I kind of wonder if it would have somehow. But
the world would have opened up and swallowed itself whole if that game had taken place.
Yes,
so be thankful it hasn't.
I think any year that Duke doesn't make a Final Four is a failure in their eyes. But with the amount of hype they got this year, yes. And I saw 2 different guys on Twitter that are 10,000 follower plus guys that are Duke quote-unquote insiders. Both of them said this was a great season and they should build a statue of Zion. And I told them both, I said, man, you're full of crap. Build a statue to what? Build a statue. Yes, he's a great kid. He's a great player. What are we building statue to in Durham? Hype? Hype? Is it a hype statue? Because you didn't win it.
Man, I said it. I think this is the worst job that Coach K's done. I don't think he will ever have a team with more talent at the top. Now, you can't speak to what's on the rest of the bench because you never saw the kids play.
I said they don't play.
But he will.
To be fair, he never has played the bench much.
He will never have a team with more talent at the top than this one. This season, there is no way to put lipstick on this pig. You've talked about how making the Final Four is like a separate thing.
Yeah.
All right. You cannot put the lipstick on the pig. The fact that with all of this and all the hype, you didn't even make a Final Four. What is it, the last 16, 15 years? You know how many Final Fours he's made?
Wow.
2. He has made 2 Final Fours in like 15 or 16 years. So take that and do with that what you will, all of you Mike Krzyzewski lovers. He's the greatest coach ever in the history of the world. 2 Final Fours in 15 or 16 years. That is what it is. As far as I'm concerned, that's done. I never have to worry about them ever again because I don't know what their team will be like next year. It will not be this.
And I bet it won't be broadcast in Spartanburg, South Carolina, whatever it is.
I will bet you $100 that deal was a one-time deal.
Somehow that'll just go away.
All right, so we've got Michigan State and Texas Tech up first on Saturday night, followed by Virginia and Auburn. So we'll start with Michigan State and Texas Tech. Your bracket's got the Red Raiders. Are you sticking with them?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I've come too far with my national title game still being a distinct possibility. I'm going to let you talk, but I'm taking UVA over Texas Tech in the national title game.
I'm gonna take Michigan State. I don't think that you beat Duke. I think for whatever,
no, I know what you're saying.
I think for whatever reason, Michigan State has kind of been like that other team. Before the tournament started, I felt like
we have seen teams in the past win the big one and then just not be able to get back up for the next game.
We have. Listen, now,
it's going to be a really low-scoring game. Let's just say that right off the bat.
Texas Tech is as good as Duke is defensively. Texas Tech is better. I tend to think that they're not going to let Cassius Winston kind of get wherever he wanted to on the floor, kind of like Duke did. So I agree. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
75 points wins this game.
I think 75 points puts you in a runaway. I think this thing could be in the mid to low 60s, kind of like the 64, 61 kind of range. Yeah. Give me Michigan State. I think they beat Texas Tech. Experienced. Tom Izzo. Look, Tom Izzo. Everybody props him up and puts him in this group with Krzyzewski and Roy Williams, and they do the same thing with Bill Self. I think you got to have multiple titles. He's got one.
Yeah.
He's got one. And when he's gotten to the Final Four other times, the last time they went to the Final Four, Duke beat them by 20.
Yet you're picking him.
Carolina's beat them. He's gotten to this stage and really fallen flat. I think this is the year they get it done because nobody was really talking. Everybody was talking about Duke and Carolina and can Virginia do it and Kentucky, Tennessee, and Michigan State was kind of that other team. So I think Michigan State gets it done against Texas Tech. I think Virginia beats Auburn because I think you don't win a game every year in the tournament. Whoever wins it has a game that they were supposed to have lost.
Auburn's going to hit 5 or 6 3-pointers in this game tops. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and look, everybody has that game where everything by every measure you should have lost, and somehow you won. I think that was the Purdue game.
And you know what's going to happen too. Auburn's going to force them to shoot threes. Virginia's going to force them to shoot threes. That's what Virginia does to everybody. So you're going to have.
Are you banking on 4 straight weekends of Auburn doing that?
That's what I'm saying. But I'll tell you what you're going to want to watch early in this game. Does Auburn hit their first 2 or 3 threes? Right? If they get that thing rolling, then all bets are off. But if they miss the first 3 or 4 shots, or if they hit 2 out of 5, and so it's going to be kind of a quote unquote normal day for us, then I think you're going to see Virginia really kind of lock them down. Yeah. If that 3 isn't there, with the way Virginia can play basketball on the defensive court, I think they could really. You could see a day where Auburn struggles to get 50 points.
We've seen teams. They've got these Final Fours in basically these giant football stadiums now. The sight lines are so different.
Oh yeah.
From a regular arena.
It's weird.
We've seen lots of teams.
You can have fans in your vision that are 60 yards away from the ball.
We've seen lots of teams, that shoot the ball really well coming into the Final Four, and they get in there, and all of a sudden, they can't make a shot. Well, it's because, like you said, you see the fans, they're in your face, and they're 60 yards away from you. I think Virginia beats Auburn. I think I'm not going to give Auburn 4 more weekends of just being on fire. So when you get to Monday night, I'm going to take Virginia to win the national championship, just because it's time. I think they get to now that they're in the Final Four and
You said last year after they lost that you still thought they had a couple of national titles.
Oh yeah.
So this needs to be one of them if that's true.
I think that they're going to get to Minneapolis this weekend. I think they're going to be loose. Because all the pressure of getting to the Final Four is gone now.
Last year's over now.
Last year is over. There's no reason to ever really talk about that and bring that up to them again. If they lose this weekend, it's got nothing to do with any residual leftover.
I agree.
If they lose, it's because someone just plays better than them.
They're the best team left in the tournament.
They're the only 1 seed left.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Tony Bennett to win his first national title.
The game that they could have lost.
It was Purdue.
We just watched that.
Yep, it was Purdue, and I don't. I thought they laid an egg up in the ACC tournament against Florida State. They almost lost this past weekend. I don't think they're losing again, man. I think the Cavaliers get it done. So, That is it for episode 108. I won't go through the Twitter handles again unless you want to do it.
BG_Border War.
All right, that's
TanMan 93 62 73 95. Is that right?
Something like that. We're on Facebook. You can like and share our page on Facebook. You can email the show at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com. I want to thank everybody who played along in our tournament challenge. Without having it in front of me, I'm pretty sure BG's probably wrapped the thing up, given his 2 Final Four picks still being alive.
Really good participation this year, though. Had a lot of guys filling out brackets. That's good.
I won't say their name on the air, but did you see their bracket group? Like they had like 50 people in it.
And they're on the radio.
They're on
folks.
the actual radio.
They're on the radio, folks.
We had
24, and we're on a portable mic in a bonus room right now. So there you are.
Ding. That's it. We're out of here, man. Go watch some basketball this weekend. Duke lost. Haha.
We're going to have to start watching the Braves, or we're not going to have anything to talk about. It's a long time with football.
Well, you got Ronald Acuna for 10 more years, man.
Talk about Ronald Acuna every week. I wonder if he likes ghost peppers.
I'd cut you off before the ghost pepper music stopped.
It's okay.
Yes.